Welcome fellow Kiss fans, welcome to It's All For You Demon, celebrating the fun of being a Kiss fan. And if you've been anywhere near the internet in the past 2 weeks, you know exactly the fun I'm talking about. The bevy of glory that Sam Loomis has uploaded on YouTube has me swimming in 1992. 1992, my friends, Danny, Brett, David, myself, were big into the VHS bootleg market. I was a Peter Arquette boy. Our friend Mike Jackson ordered from Frank Carligo, and those days were glorious. The benefit of these days is we don't have to wait for the VHS tape to arrive in the mail. It's a simple click. But life was more fun pre-internet, and swimming in this 1992 fun, this Peter Arquette bootleg fun, talking to Dan, remembering things I had forgotten about for years, has me thinking, what are some of my favorite non-makeup era moments of the band? Now you notice when I say my favorite non-makeup era moments, I'm not meaning the best non-makeup era moments. I'm not meaning the band taking off their makeup on MTV or the release of Lick It Up, the greatest non-makeup record to exist. I am talking about my favorite moments of the non-makeup era, my favorite experiences around a certain object, certain time, certain memory, certain fun. And that is what we are going to have tonight. The calendar may say 2022, but tonight, July 15th, Friday night in the Wax Night basement, it's 1992. And we are going to have fun celebrating my top 5 favorite non-makeup era moments.
You know, it's the calm before the storm, we call it in America. You know, before things get crazy, they get very quiet. Before the storm rolls in, the air gets very quiet. And then all hell breaks loose.
Number 5 favorite moment is a good chance to step back and re-explain. This isn't the 5 what I consider best non-makeup moments. These are the 5 my most favorite non-makeup moments, and coming in at number 5 is Crazy Nights. And then going into middle school again, I would have heard Crazy Nights in Dan's Camaro, played by Dan. You know, the hair metal scene at that point, Dan played a lot of hair metal tapes, Crazy Nights being one of them. But it really struck me 8th grade year, 87, 88, when I went to my friend Chad's house. You know, we all spent the night over at Chad's house. There was like 5 of us. Everyone brought cassette tapes. Somebody brought Crazy Nights, and that's when it hit me that, like, Kiss existed outside of Dan, and this was like a force to be reckoned with in my Motley Crue love. Like, I loved Motley Crue, but now people outside of Dan are talking about Kiss, and Kiss kind of seemed like a bigger band at that point. And Crazy Nights is not the best record in the world. Asylum, I think, is a lot better than Crazy Nights, but Crazy Nights was huge. MTV, Reason to Live, Crazy Nights video. I can distinctively remember Adam Curry talking about the Porsche blowing up in the Reason to Live video. And why that sticks in my head after all these years just kind of tells you how big Crazy Nights was at that time. A lot of airplay. And also a big tour to come through Kansas City, because when a tour came through Kansas City, there were a slew of kids in St. Joe at school wearing those concert t-shirts, and I remember a ton of people having those I Went Crazy with Kiss shirts, and it just, again, made everything seem so much bigger, so much beyond just Dan's Camaro, and kind of felt like this was a thing. And also kind of cool that I would have gotten into this, you know, just months after all this was taking place in my life. I would have started taking my steps down this fandom, and I love Crazy Nights. Asylum is far better, but Crazy Nights is so much fun. It is very much a summertime record. The song, Crazy Crazy Nights, Reason to Live, Turn on the Night. Summertime, nighttime, roll down your windows, play Turn on the Night. There's no better feeling in the world. The magazines of the era. You know, this is, again, like I said, pre-internet. There was only one way, 2 ways maybe for you to get, 3 ways for you to get information. The radio, which the radio never talked about Kiss, MTV, and the magazine rack at Food Barn grocery store. And it was so exciting to walk into Food Barn with Dan on a summer night. We were really into these Marvel trading cards that existed, and they were super fun to get. There were like hologram cards in them, and we were comic book nerds, and we were really into collecting those. And then you'd head over to the magazine rack and there would be one of these gems, and it seemed like Rip magazine and Rock Scene magazine were putting out these like commemorative Hot in the Shade Kiss magazines at the time, and it was absolutely just a wonderful, fun journey. It felt, honestly, like I don't know exactly what it felt like to be a Kiss fan in 1978, but that's, to me, it would have been the same excitement, because I was buying these magazines, seeing pictures I had never seen before, falling in love with pictures that I just thought were amazing. And every time I look at these covers, especially the videos and the yellow magazine in the center, I just smile, because I picture my 15-year-old self during the summer just diving into these magazines and loving every minute of being a fan of this band.
I don't give a fuck what you think. You think that way, but I gotta be me. I gotta be me.
Next up, Extreme Close-Up. I think when this came out, this was like probably one of the very first Kiss days Danny and I had, where you set out early in the morning and it's just like your whole day is devoted to finding and waxing a Kiss item. I can definitely remember I had spiral stairs. We had spiral stairs at my mom's house, and I can remember like darting down those stairs, air-conditioned basement, turning out all the lights and just watching this thing, and our jaws just on the ground. This was one of the best ever documentaries of rock and roll. Exposed is great, Motley Crue Uncensored was great, but Kiss Extreme Close-Up, and at the time, for Danny and I, just, you know, re-getting into this fandom was mind-blowing. Like, absolutely mind-blowing. Like, the internet was not around. You did not ever see things like this. When we're walking to the stage in the Dynasty outfits and Gene's holding Peter's hand, like, that was, like, absolutely crazy that we were being able to see this stuff. And, like, the doll commercials, the makeup ad, the toys, the mania. It was so exciting. And also the Revenge era was so much fun and so exciting. This video was great because it was a great celebration of the history, but also a great celebration of what was currently going on. And Kiss, at the time, we thought was huge again and just firing on all cylinders. And musically they were. Unfortunately, the music genre was changing, so it wouldn't last long at all. And sometimes, I swear to God, I hate the reunion. I just hate the reunion because I wish music wouldn't have changed. I know it needed to, but I wish it wouldn't have, and I wish Kiss would have continued on Gene, Paul, Bruce, and Eric. Because I love that era, and the band just had so much fire and balls at the time. It was absolutely a great time to be a Kiss fan.
When we first started out, the Guns N' Roses people threatened us with a lawsuit.
Very early into my fandom of the band, Danny purchased Marvel Comic Super Special #1, and it was unbelievable that we had it. You know, one of those things you never ever think you'll see. Now, the second comic we knew was a pipe dream back then. Like, there is no way you're ever going to find the second comic. So we kind of went through high school, and then my senior year, summer after my senior year, I was on a trip to Colorado with like our youth group, and stumbled upon this comic book in a music store, and I literally shit.
Oh, hey, you okay?
Oh, damn enchiladas!
Of course, there's no phones, no mail. You know, I could have mailed, but that would have just been stupid. No cell phones, no texting. I remember saying to my girlfriend, oh my God, I want to call Dan and tell him about this comic book. Because it was absolutely unbelievable that an item like this would exist. We had no idea it was coming out. No internet spreading rumors that a new Hard Rock Comics is coming out talking about the tours of Kiss. I bought it, and this is the same one I've had since that summer, July 1992, and the artwork in these comic books is just absolutely amazing. So much fun. And it tells, you know, all the stories we all know. Lakeland, Florida, Ace getting electrocuted, Creatures of the Night, the band playing in Rio. But just to look at these drawings and how absolutely amazing they are. This was so much fun to dive into that summer. It felt, you know, again, it felt like what a kid must have felt when, you know, the Marvel comics came out in the 70s, that we were going through the exact same thing. And again, on my note I spoke about with Revenge, this comic ends with Revenge coming out, and again, it felt like it was fun and cool to celebrate the history of this band, but we were also carrying the flag for where they were going in the future, and it felt so on fire that, you know, Revenge was a kick-ass album again. The band looked badass, the band sounded badass, and there was no limit to what the band could do. Unfortunately, as we know, the tide shifted, but the fun continued because the same guys who did this comic also a year later did a full-on history comic book, 1, 2, and 3, beginning April 1993, and I subscribed to these. The first one came in April, the second one came in May, third one in June. And you talk about excitement. When that thing hit the mailbox, phone in hand, called Danny, he ran up, and I remember we would sit on my mom's couch and both read it at the same time, and just the absolute pinnacle of excitement and fun, especially issue 3 starts off with Phantom. We received that issue in the summer. You know, 1993, things began to shift and kind of suck in music in general. Things were starting to not get exciting anymore, but Kiss still gave us that excitement, and items like this will always be in my heart and soul and DNA as some of the best days of my life. Full-on Kiss days, man. You can't beat it. You cannot beat it. When you have a full-on Kiss day and something arrives in the mail and you devote your entire day to that product with your friends, there is no better feeling in the world. Prove me wrong. You just can't.
Cheers, cheers. Cheers, cheers. The band that invented rock with a vengeance. Their new album, On the Shade, featuring Hide Your Heart, and the new smash single, Forever. To the new Revenge. It's enough to keep you in Kiss rock and roll forever.
And for my number one favorite non-makeup moment ever in my life, I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to choose the Hot in the Shade show, Bonner Springs, Kansas, and the Revenge show, St. Joseph, Missouri. I'll start with the Revenge show. A Kiss concert should not come to St. Joseph, Missouri, but it did. November 10th, 8 o'clock, St. Joe Civic Arena, and absolutely one of the best nights of my life. Not a very good night for Paul. He had the flu. Set was cut short. Gene sang 2 Paul songs. To me, being an 18-year-old kid on the verge of, you know, moving on from high school and chasing your dreams, to see this band that we love with my friend, my best friend in the world, right next to me. We're both decked out in our airbrush shirts. He's got a Gene shirt, I got a Paul shirt. Gene and Paul walked away with our shirts that night. You talk about absolute miracles happening in our lives, like absolute full-on rock and roll dreams come true happened that night at that Revenge show. Looking back, I actually feel sorry for the band, especially if Paul was sick. Things are shifting in the music industry so bad that you're playing St. Joseph Civic Arena instead of Kansas City. Things are bad, and I remember Paul even said something in the show like he would rather be here than playing in some big city. Sir, we know that's a lie, and thank you for lying to us and keeping us happy, because that show will remain one of my favorite shows of all time. Even though the set was cut short and you were sick, it was a moment in time I will never, ever, ever forget, and one of my all-time favorite non-makeup moments. Now, the Hot in the Shade show, my very first Kiss concert with Dan, drove down in his Camaro, thunderstormed like a bitch on the way down, and Dan's not a good driver anyway, but you put him on the highway going to Kansas in a heavy, heavy thunderstorm, it can be quite scary, and I remember my little 15-year-old mind thinking thinking that we're gonna die. But before that show, the clouds parted, the stars were out, and Kiss took the stage, and I had already fallen in love with Phantom of the Park, and they opened with I Stole Your Love. And that's all it took for that to be one of the greatest nights of my life. And I remember how devastated I was that I could not get a Hot in the Shade tour book because the tour books were not available at our show. And it feels so damn good to be a 48-year-old man and have that tour book show up in my life so many decades later that, you know, what I wanted to buy when I was 15, I got to buy in my 40s. And just another reminder, man, I am so damn proud to be a Kiss fan. The fact that I was introduced to this band by my best friend back then, we're still best friends today, and still loving this band. I kind of want to quote Hank Hill.
Why would anyone do drugs when they could just mow a lawn?
Because, like, I feel that way about Kiss. Why? There's no reason to ever be depressed in the world when you love a band like this. Thank you for hanging with us tonight, waxing a little rock and roll nostalgia with us. Take care, be safe, be good to your babies, spay, neuter, microchip. Who knows what tomorrow will bring with new bootlegs, but I look forward to it, and I wish you all a happy weekend. Let's go 80s tonight. Pee Wee says, "Hail, mother grabbin', yes."